We have Joanne DiPietro with us today. Many of you know her from around the center where she provides, education for us and consultations. She's an extension of us in many, many ways. We're always so grateful for your partnership, Joanne, and I'm so glad you joined us today. There's a lot of things that I'm sure people have been thinking about regarding legal issues in this time. For me in particular, I think about advance directives and their real importance now, given the nature of this illness that we're seeing and the challenge that might exist if you don't have those actual papers in hand and accessible to you should you suddenly find yourself ill. So I don't know if there were some questions that we provided to Joanne in advance, but I want to give her an opportunity to share information that's relevant to these times with us. So if you can put yourself on mute, we're going to hand the floor over to Joanne. Thank you so much, Joanne.
Thank you, Carrie. And I do have to say, as Jerry said, it's very nice to see everyone, and I do miss everyone, and I think of all of you often. I fortunately have been able to continue to work in my office because we are part of Governor Baker's order that we are essential workers. You know, we need to keep our clients that are under contracts, if they have refinance closings, if they have documents that are an emergency to be signed or notarized, we've been assisting them. And I do have to say, we have been busy. It's definitely a strange time that we're living in, and I always ask everyone to have a lot of patience and kindness for everyone. And I've been overwhelmed by seeing how everyone has been doing that across the board in every aspect of the professional and personal level. So today, as Carrie indicated, we are going to talk about advance directives, or what we sometimes call them too, are healthcare proxies and living will declarations. But one thing that I did want to tell you is that May is National Elder Law Month. So you maybe, if you happen to be on Yahoo like Jerry and, scanning the internet, looking for things to read, you'll see many articles this month about elder law and how it relates to your own personal life and the things that we continuously talk about. So when we have, when we talk about advance directives, again, when we talk about these documents, it's all about being in control of what's going on and what you want to see happen when something does happen to you and you don't have the opportunity to verbally communicate it. So what do you need to do? Put it in writing. You put it in writing. We have 2 witnesses that state that you have the capacity upstairs, you're over the age of 18, it's your free act and deed. We have a notary sign these documents. So in the event something happens later on, when you don't have the capacity to talk about any advance directive information or medication or procedures, that you do have the ability to look to your agent, the fiduciary, the person that you appointed to act on your behalf. Okay, so there's 2 key components that we're going to be talking about today. The first thing is to prepare those written advance directives known as the healthcare proxy or the living will declaration. The second thing is to appoint someone that you trust, of course, because this is the person that is going to be basically have your life in their hands. And what you want to make sure is that they're going to be speaking for you on your healthcare issues in the manner that you have asked them to do. So if we think about medical science, that the advances that have been made with keeping people alive, it's absolutely amazing when you think about what's happened in such a short period of time. You can be kept alive in situations that previously you wouldn't have been. Innovations such as artificial food and water, having tubes inserted into your body to revive your heart, to maintain your breathing through a heart or lung machine, where the brain is no longer able to keep that capacity. This is what happens right now. Now, when these particular situations happen, there's an inference that you've lost your capacity. You have a diminished capacity to make these very important decisions. So this is where the court would step in. If you don't have documents, the courts would step in at that particular point to make those decisions for you by appointing a guardian. So it'd be a guardianship at the probate court. And what happens with that is not only is it time consuming and expensive, but it's also draining. It can be draining on the person who's called the ward, and it can also be very draining on the family. So when we talk about making sure that you're in control of things, think of that aspect of it too. You know, some people, sometimes they just print forms off of the internet online and they just want to fill those out. It's very important to have a good conversation, an in-depth conversation with your family as to what it is that you want and you don't want. The healthcare agent that you appoint under these documents is your healthcare, I'm sorry, the healthcare proxy that you appoint in Massachusetts is called the healthcare agent. And they're going to make those decisions, your known decisions. You want to be specific about those decisions. And those decisions can also include religious beliefs. There are some religions that do not allow blood transfusions. If you have that as a priority, you want to make sure you have that information in there. Dispositions for any organ donations. Do you want to do an organ donation or do you not desire that? And along those lines, do you desire for an autopsy to be made or perhaps not made on you? Now, some people don't like to get specific. Some people don't like to think about anything happening to them. So if you are completely confident in the fiduciary, the healthcare agent that you've appointed, and don't forget about that successor that we need, you can just leave it in their hands. But a very good conversation, an in-depth conversation as to what you want and what you don't want is very important. So the living will portion of the healthcare proxy that we develop is whether or not you wish to be kept alive if there's a terminal illness. What type of procedures would you want? How far do you want to go? You know, we can use cancer as an example. When do you desire that you don't wish for any more chemotherapy or any trials or anything like that? Or if you're in a vegetative state, you know, we say, you know, we hear about pulling the plug. That's if your brain can't control your body, but now machines have taken over and they're controlling your body, your breathing, your hearts, your lung. Do you not wish to be kept alive in that vegetative state? Because essentially you're never going to come out of it. And we have case law. We've talked about this type of case law before, this case law that's out there. Because I say to all my clients, whenever we draft these documents, these are all emotional, very emotional situations that we have to talk about between your friends and your family. So again, getting everything in writing is super important. So the other reason why we really want to have these documents set and ready to go is because the person that you've trusted to be your fiduciary, to be your healthcare agent, has to have access. They have to have access to speak with your doctors, to get your medical records, to make appointments in order to live out those, you know, those orders that you've given them. And the only way that they can do that is in writing. Everyone has heard of HIPAA. It's the federal privacy law for medical records. You have to have everything in writing in order to allow your healthcare agent, your healthcare proxy, to have access to this information. So as you can see, there's many reasons why it's very important to have this in writing. Now, the good part of these documents, so long as you have capacity, is you could always update these documents, whether it's by way of the procedures that you want to have or even the fiduciaries you've appointed. If your designated healthcare agent has left the state, they've moved to a different state, or perhaps they've become ill and they don't have the ability to care for you, what you can do is you can change these documents and you can update them at any time. So that's a very important component, which means that they're revocable. You can change them. So again, going to the fact of control, and we all like to have control. Right now, we don't exactly have control of what's going on, but we want to have control with our healthcare. It's very important to make sure that you have your healthcare proxy, your living will declaration, and that other component that we've spoken of before, which we can talk about at another time, is the durable power of attorney, where you appoint your attorney in fact. You can create these documents so that you have control with your specific decisions when you're unable to communicate. Do we have questions?
I have a question. I've been reading about the electronic signatures, particularly in this time where, you know, where people are quarantined or it's loosening up, but still there may be difficulty of getting people all in the same room to be able to sign and whatever. Could you?
That's an
talk about
excellent
that?
question. And it's a great segue to the second portion that I wanted to discuss. So when we started with the pandemic, when the pandemic was announced, and I believe the executive orders came through, I think it was March 20th, some of the attorney associations, one particularly REBA, which is the Real Estate Bar Association of Massachusetts, they asked Governor Baker for an executive order to have video notarization, okay? He wouldn't do it as an executive order because, you know, legislation takes a little bit, because then you had people on the floor stating it wasn't good, there could be a possibility of fraud, and, you know, all this stuff came about. Essentially, what ended up happening is a bill passed through the House and the Senate, and now we do have a law for video notarization, which has a lot of criteria to it. One of it is the handling of documents. And documents have to be prepared, for instance, by our office, and then they need to be sent to the client for signature. So video notarization, first of all, the client has have the ability, like we're doing today, to have a Zoom meeting. That Zoom meeting has to be, and actually Zoom isn't one of the apps that we can use. There's designated apps that we can use. That meeting has to be recorded and it has to be maintained for 10 years. Then those documents come back to us and then we notarize them. Then at that point, there's been a lot of articles written about it, that after the fact, after the pandemic, after we get through Governor Baker's, I don't know if it's phase 3 or phase 4 of what he has pronounced of how we're going to open up, those documents then should be re-signed before witnesses and notaries. So at this particular point, video notarization is a way to do it, but to be honest, Bill, the way that we've been handling things, and most of my clients are local, we've been handling it by having social distance meetings in the parking lot. And thankfully we have some sunny days, because sometimes it does rain. But what we have been doing is people have, if it's raining out, they've been sitting in their cars, or they sit outside and we tab all of the documents that they need to sign from a social distance perspective. We take their notary acknowledgement, free act and deed, willingly, voluntarily, that they had capacity. And, we still go through the same formalities that we're doing in our office. Our office has been closed now for 4 weeks to the public without a specific appointment. And like I said, most of those appointments have been outside. We're all wearing masks, we're disinfecting. I've had the whole office disinfected. So there's a lot to it. Do I love the video notarization in summary? No, I don't, because I think it's a little bit more complicated and a lot of people don't have access to dropping documents off in a UPS package for tracking to send it back to us, because remember, those documents that you're signing have a lot of personal information in them, and I worry about the fraud in that particular case. So if we can still handle things the way that we have been in a social distance mode in our back parking lot, I would prefer that over the video notarization.
Thanks. I just one other question, just out of curiosity. You mentioned that you'd have to video record. I was just wondering, where do they keep the recording?
So I would have to maintain the recording for 10 years, and I've already spoken with my IT person. And what I can do is I can download it to my server on the cloud. But again, it's under the law, it has to be maintained for 10 years.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a question, Joanne. On the healthcare proxy, is it valid if you don't have your agent sign it? Does your agent need to sign it?
The legislative case law likes to see someone accept appointment. So that's why we have that on there. There are forms that exist, and some of them are even used in some doctor's offices that I've seen, where they don't accept appointment. It's definitely, in my eyes, more is better than less. Could there be a dispute that, and why do we do all this stuff? We do it in the event something happens and 2 people are arguing that they're actually the healthcare agent. You have a parent who At one time, the daughter came to the appointment. The next time, the son came to the appointment, and they've both been appointed at one point or another. So the problem with these documents, and this goes to a side conversation too, people like to appoint two people. And I'm always like, no, I don't like that. Because what happens is these documents don't have any referee information in there. There's no arbitration information. If those fiduciaries that have been appointed get into an argument or they disagree on a particular healthcare decision or procedure, then we have a problem. And what happens, and then you end up in court, because that's the only other place that you can take care of it. So do I like to see them accept appointment? Yes, absolutely. And then I like to see a successor accept appointment as well, so that if that first person can't perform their duties for whatever reason, death, incapacity, they've moved out of state, then the successor can step up immediately.
Joanne,
Yes.
you were talking earlier about giving away your
Donation.
organs.
Uh-huh.
And I believe that that someday when the Messiah comes, that those people that deserve to relive again will somehow will roll to Israel
Mm-hmm.
and will come alive again. I don't know how that's going to happen, because that was never explained to me.
I think we can all agree it doesn't matter what religion we're in. There's a lot of pieces that are kind of missing, for us to put it all together.
I
But
believe that.
if you do not want to donate your organs, then that is something important to put in your healthcare proxy and your living will declaration, because you want your fiduciary to know that. It's very
Okay.
important to have that in writing then.
This was very, very interesting. It really was. It's a little bit scary, but if you have two people, like you have a person who is going to be your healthcare proxy, and then a backup, the person who is your healthcare proxy makes the decision.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And your backup only would be if the other person wasn't available or wasn't there or whatever.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Oh,
You were
you're
very
welcome.
interesting.
Oh, good. Good.
I
I'm
have a
glad.
question relative to pandemic. Having these documents, if people have them, is exactly what we want. But are there extra steps you think they should take now? Should they have a copy available to them? Should they give a copy? Make sure that their healthcare proxy has a copy? Anything they should have prepared just in case right now relative to the pandemic?
So going back to Bill's question about video notarization, one thing that I wanted to bring up also is that in the event you don't have an opportunity to have your document when you're signing it, that you don't have your document notarized and two witnesses sign, I'm telling everyone to sign it, date it, and then what we're going to do is when the pandemic is over, then we'll have you come in and have it witnessed and notarized, okay? So having it at least signed is better than nothing at all. So let's just start right there. Now, during the pandemic, it's a little bit difficult to, most of the doctor's offices are closed, but as I tell all of my clients, when when we sign your documents and we put a pretty little bow on it, we always talk about where you're going to keep it. Are you keeping it in a waterproof, fireproof safe? You want to make sure that it's somewhere. Make sure your fiduciaries either have the code or the key to that safe. Make sure they know where it is. And that's the most important thing, is that your fiduciaries know where those documents are. A lot of the time, actually every time that we sign documents, we give you back all of the originals. I think it's really important for everyone to have their original documents. And then we'll also give you copies. We'll give you 2 copies of the durable power of attorney, the healthcare proxy, the HIPAA authorization, because you show them the original, but then you pull it back and you give them a copy. Don't ever let that original go, because God forbid, if you lose capacity, you won't be able to sign another original. Okay, so during the pandemic, the most important thing I would say, Carrie, is to make sure that your fiduciaries know where those documents are.
I have another question. You could possibly change your mind that now you either related to, say, organ donation, you decide, okay, yeah, I want to do that. Now you go through this process, you've got 2 copies and potentially someone has the old one, somebody has a new one, or may not know that there's a new one. Is there some issues or way of handling that so that the current one is the one that's being used and everybody
Right.
agrees to it?
So the best thing is to get rid of any documents that have been revised. That is the best thing to do, Bill. That the best thing to do is to have them shredded. Get rid of them. Even if you have draft copies of something, either a prior will or a current will that you're working on, once you sign that new will or the new healthcare proxy, make sure the drafts are gone. We always want to just keep everything that's current. Now, if there was a dispute between a healthcare proxy that was signed in 2012 versus one that was signed in 2019, they would go with the one for 2019 because the most recent date document revokes the prior document.
So you would need to, if you've given copies to people, because most likely your healthcare agent is going to have a copy.
Right.
So you'd want to collect all the copies, get them back, and then shred the whole set, I guess.
Correct. Because again, what we're planning for is that you are unable to communicate. So we want to make sure that everyone's doing the appropriate job that you want them to do. So being well organized is important. Absolutely.
Joanne, how do we go about getting these healthcare proxies?
Dating them?
No, how do we get one?
Oh, how do you get one?
Yes.
Well, I can assist you with it. What I prefer to do is if you have a living will declaration, which is that you do not wish to be kept alive with extraordinary measures, we incorporate a living will declaration within the healthcare proxy and we make it one document together so that your healthcare agent knows the specific information or directives that you have. So you can go to an estate planning elder law attorney. Some people, like I said, not to knock Staples or anything like that, but Staples has forms that you can buy, but I don't like the forms because they're not specific to what you want. This is a personal matter. You need to have a conversation with someone, you know, and half the time I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm giving you, like, for instance, if you said that you wanted both of your sons to be co-agents, I would explain to you the reasons why it's not a great idea. That's my job. My job is to, based on my 21 plus years experience practicing as an attorney, I can tell you the things that I've seen and it'll help you in order to make good constructive decisions as to who your fiduciaries are going to be appointed. Do we have anyone else? Anything else going on that you want to talk about with the pandemic?
I have a quick question, Joanne.
Yes.
I was just getting ready. I got all my paperwork ready. And I was just going to make an appointment with you and on the 24th. And that ended that. I need to have some help. I have one irrevocable trust. I want to set up another one. I want to go over my living will.
Okay. So Carol, it's looking like, again, like I said, we are essential services, but it's looking like, and this is all according to what Governor Baker is stating, according to what the numbers look like. They continue to tread down, which I think yesterday they went up a little bit, but if they continue to tread down, we'll be able to start having one-on-one meetings at the office, but with social distancing and all of the protocol that's required. So it's a matter of being patient. If you have something that's an emergency, please feel free to call my office and we can have a telephone consult and we can talk about how we can take care of that emergency situation for you now.
No, it's not an emergency. I just want to, I want to open up another trust. Will you advertise when you are open for business?
I can through what we can do another Zoom meeting too. We can do it, and I can have Carrie put it on the website, and Debbie can put it in one of her emails. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
I do have a question. I'm Joanne. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Jean.
At one point, could you tell us that if your healthcare proxy was sent prior to 2000? I'm sorry? if your healthcare proxy was done prior to 2012, it should be redone. Is that correct?
No. Well, it's not necessarily 2012.
You didn't hear me?
It's a
Wait a
little
minute.
difficult to hear you, Jean, but I think I
Am I
have your
muted?
question.
No, I'm not muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You
Yes.
can hear me?
Yes. So the reason why it's important to update older documents, and it's kind of it's more of a loose rule if it's anywhere between 3 and 5 years old when we talk about healthcare proxy,
Okay.
durable powers of attorney, just because, as one of the questions was, what if there's two floating around out there? As we all get older, we may change both our fiduciaries and maybe our healthcare decisions based upon any diagnosis or our fiduciaries, inability to perform their duties. So when like a bank gets a durable power of attorney, or a doctor's office or a hospital receives a healthcare proxy, they do like to see them with a more recent date, so that there isn't any confusion as to who the last appointed person is.
Any other questions? Joanne, thank you so much for being with us today. Very
I
fun.
am. Thank you.
Really appreciate
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
Joanne.
having me. And it really is great to see everyone, and I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. All right. Thanks so much. We'll
You're
see you soon.
Hi, Joanne.
Joanne.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice to see you, Joanne.
Also, did anybody take part in the Walpole Spirit? Did anyone decorate the houses? I didn't. Oh, you did?
See you. Still drive by and see
Oh.
it. The front window still.
Oh, okay. That's right. I did go by and see it. Oh, that's good. And to see the police had it was really funny because their deputy chief had his 40th birthday, and they drove the cars around the police station.
Funny.
Wow.
They just showed him going around the police station a couple of times.
Yeah.
It was
Linda,
funny.
did you decorate your house?
No,
No.
I didn't.
Did you?
And I guess they had another birthday party for Jeanette Penza, like they had for Paul Nolan, and I guess that was quite successful. Somebody said she had 100 cars, but I wasn't there, so I
Yeah.
couldn't count them.
We are off in the staging area, so sometimes when we're in the office, we see them all lining up, and all the police cars and the
Yeah.
motorcycles
Oh, yeah.
take off from where we are. So we're off to the starting point. I want to make sure that those of you that are on the call still saw the announcement that they are going to hold town meeting on Saturday the 20th on the football field at the high school at noontime.
Oh,
Do that
Okay.
for the end of the fiscal year so that we can get that budget passed and we should be
Right.
operating within a budget, not kind of use emergency protocols that we might have. So they're keeping it to just 3 articles, one of which is the budget. So for those of you that are really involved in town meeting, just want to make sure you're aware of that too.
And they're thinking about doing something for the seniors in terms of, having them like drive through to get their diplomas. And then they're going to have a parade for them, but I don't know how far that's going.
I know they're working on that, and I know they're working with the police department and other departments in town to figure out how to do it safely, and to plan a route so that many people in town can come out and celebrate those kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I live in Canton, so I won't see the parade.
There's a parade in Canton. All the towns are trying to find ways to honor these kids and make sure they get that milestone.
Ah,
Can you hear me?
Yes, Joanne?
I have a question for Jerry.
uh-oh.
Jerry, where are you with that palm tree and the ocean flowing?
I'm in Hawaii.
What is it? What is it? A film or something?
No, if you go into down there at the bottom where it says video, and then right next to it, there's like a little arrow. So if you don't want to show your background in your house, then you hit your hit that little arrow, and then it gives you about 5 or 6 different backgrounds. The same as what
Mary.
same as what Marianne is doing. Like she has a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge and the water
What's her name's coming?
behind her.
Well, I just was wondering what part of Hitton that palm
If you
tree was in.
go into where it says, you know, like the video on the right side of the microphone. And then right next to that video,
I don't
there's a
even know where
little
the
arrow, and
microphone
hit
is.
that
Oh, I
arrow.
gotta figure this one out. Hi, I'm Olga. I just stopped in.
Hi, Olga.
Hi, Olga.
How are you? I had a little trouble getting in. Now, what did Jerry said to get the beautiful background?
You go into where it says
Hawaii.
video at the bottom of your Zoom, and you hit the video at the bottom of your Zoom.
The toolbar at the bottom of the screen.
At the very bottom, and then hit
Oh
the
my God,
arrow.
now I lost you all.
Where is it? You're there. I
Okay.
can still see
And
you.
if you hit the arrow right next to that camera, and it'll bring up, you know, say like about 5 or 6 different pictures that you can use as your background for your, instead of having pictures of your wall behind you, you can use like different videos, the same as Marianne is doing. Marianne has a picture of the Golden Gate and the river, and I had used that. And
There
then
wasn't
when,
much variety when I did it.
well, I think there's only about 5 or 6 there.
I think
I
I'm not so
wish
good at it.
I
It's
wish
the-
it was more variety.
It's the first time I Zoom into meetings, so
Ah,
Getting
so maybe my son has to
Sometimes-
show it to me.
enough to do. That's great. You did it. I hope everyone gets outside to enjoy this nice weather we're having.
I haven't been out of the house but twice.
Staying active and getting outside in some fresh air is really good for your mental well-being and coping. I know that I always feel better when I take a walk, so I highly recommend we take advantage of the nice weather when we can. I think there's some storms coming tomorrow, but then a
Yeah,
nice
but then you have to go, but then you have to put on your mask to go outside, and I just don't feel like I'm gonna have to put on a mask and just breathe in stale air.
The chief last week clarified that you don't have to have a mask on unless you are going to be for sure within that 6-foot distance. So if you're going for a walk, I see a lot of people walking with them kind of around their necks or holding it in their hands so that if they are going to come close to someone, they can put it on for that moment. But
Oh,
outside
yeah.
of the air,
Yes. While we're talking about walking, I'll put in a little plug for our Walk Walpole program. I think I have 5 people signed up. I'd love to get everybody out there walking. You know, no distance is too small. You can start out short and then build up and see, you know, challenge yourself and see how far you can go. So let me know if you want to add your name.
I have to
I'll be walking.
keep each other moving.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of good places to go if you're willing to drive there is the Hale Reservation in Westwood. And I don't know about Rocky Woods in Medfield, if that's open to the, but that's enough. No.
Somebody was just talking about that this morning, Hale.
It is open? Rocky
But I
Wood?
think,
No, Hale.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we went in there because Eddie was looking for, he wants to go fishing. And I have a girlfriend that lives in Westwood, and she was going to the Foxborough Golf Course, but now she goes to that Millennial Park in West Roxbury that's behind Home Depot on the West Roxbury Parkway. And they have like 3 different trails that she says is good. But again, you have to drive there, so that's a problem if you're not driving. But she said that she can't go to the golf course anymore because she'll get hit by a golf ball because all the golf courses are open.
Right.
Has anybody been in the Arboretum in, where is it, Jamaica Plain? Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous. The beautiful trees, dogwood, rosewood, and the lilac is coming now. A gorgeous walk.
Usually right around Mother's Day. It's
Right,
perfect.
the lilac. And it's open.
It's open, yeah.
Ah.
They usually do
Go
lilac
with 2
days, right,
people for
Olga?
safety reasons, but it's gorgeous.
What's going to happen after the Western guy talks about Butch Cassidy? Because I understand Butch Cassidy is going to be his last talk. So what's going to happen then?
That's the end of his 10-part series. It's 10 sessions. So we don't have something to fill into that same spot right now, but we're actively looking to continue growing the virtual programming, but that's going to conclude his 10 sessions. Hang in there, more coming.
Okay.
Sherry's working real hard to get that.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Jerry.
Good to see you.
Same here.
See you Monday.
Bye.
Hi, Marianne.
Bye.
Marianne.
Thank you.
Olga,
Yes.
good job. Join us again.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I can see myself. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. As I said, I have to feel myself around, but I would like to join you again. When is the next meeting?
We do this every Thursday at 1, where we have a guest who comes to present a topic and answer questions. So we have Patrick McDermott from the Registry of, I believe it's the Norfolk Registry of Deeds next week.
Yeah, right.
And then we have, as Jerry was sharing, we have the last session for our Western Gunslinger series on Monday at 11.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But there's
I wanted to see Mrs. Petro, or Miss Petro. I missed her. I had problem logging in. But perhaps she's on again.
I think we'll have her on again. She's a great speaker. She always provides some good information, and I like people to be able to get the legal facts from the legal professional, which we are not. So
yeah,
it's helpful. I'm sure we'll have her back on again. She does an awful lot to support our seniors in town.
Oh, great, great.